If you've been told to just accept that your child with ADHD can't focus, this episode will flip that script, because what looks like distraction or defiance is often a brain waiting for the right support. And no, focus issues are not something you just have to deal with. Welcome to the Soaring Child podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm Dana Kay, your host. Hello, parents, and welcome back to another episode of the Soaring Child podcast. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Okay, let me start with a little question. Have you ever asked your child to go get ready for school, and 30 seconds later, you find them lying on the floor with one sock on? Building a fort out of lunchboxes, absolutely zero progress made. Or maybe this sounds familiar. You ask your child to do their homework, and 10 seconds later, they're upside down on the couch, the pencil is missing, and you're wondering if they even heard you. Yep. Welcome to the world of ADHD and focus. And here's the thing. If you've been told to just accept that your child with ADHD can't focus, this episode will flip that script, because what looks like distraction or defiance is often a brain waiting for the right support. And no, focus issues are not something you just have to live with. And here's the truth. Focus isn't just about paying attention. If it was, we'd all just remind our kids to try harder and call it a day. But you and I both know it's not that simple. So today I'm going to walk you through why our kids struggle to focus, what's really going on in their brains, and practical things that you can do at home to help strengthen it over time. And don't worry, I'm not here to give you some Pinterest perfect routine. This is about real kids and real families and things you can actually do today, starting today. So first, let's talk about what focus really is, because here's the thing. Focus isn't just sitting still and staring at a teacher or a workbook, even though we think that that's what it is. It's actually made up of a bunch of different skills that all work together. Things like impulse control, being able to pause before jumping into action. Then we've got working memory, holding on to instructions long enough to follow through. Then planning and organizing, figuring out all the steps in the right order. And then the sustained attention, being able to stick with something long enough to finish it. But here's the kicker. All of these skills live in the prefrontal cortex in the brain. And if you're tuning in via audio only, I'm pointing to the middle of my forehead. That's the part that doesn't fully mature until our mid-20s. And in kids with ADHD, development here can be a little bit slower. And here's what I just want to pause for a second, because this is a game changer for so many parents. Sometimes, and I'm totally guilty of it, we expect our kids to focus at a level their brain literally isn't ready for yet. It's not them being lazy or them being defiant or because you're doing anything wrong. It's because their prefrontal cortex is still developing. And in boys, it takes a little bit longer as well. So let's just take a breath and talk about what's actually age appropriate. And, I'm going to talk about what typically we see at different ages. We've got ages 2 to 5. Focus looks like waiting their turn, kind of following simple 2-step instructions and sticking with short tasks like a really, really easy puzzle. If they can organize toys into categories, blocks go here, cars go there, that's really great progress. If we then move to ages 6 to 8, now they're starting to control the urge to interrupt. Some days better than others. Back in the brings back all the memories back in the days of my son blurting out while I'm in mid-conversation. It also shows that they might be able to follow multi-step instructions. They can focus long enough to complete a simple worksheet or participate in a short discussion and keep track of basic school supplies. Then we go to ages 9 to 11. This is where we see them manage impulses like talking out of turn, keeping track of multiple pieces of information, like the steps in a math problem, maintaining attention for reading or projects, and create simple study plans. Then we go to the ages of 12 to 14. Here they're learning to regulate emotions and behaviors in social situations, applying knowledge across different subjects, prepping for exams or papers, and juggle more complex schedules with school, sports, and activities. Then we jump to ages 16 to 18. Here we see more thoughtful decision making, avoiding risky behavior, solving multi step problems, sitting through longer lectures, and setting goals for the future. And then over to 19 to 25 ages, the prefrontal cortex hits full maturity in the early 20s, and we finally see more refined executive function, better impulse control, decision making, and planning. So, why do I share all of this? I know that that's a lot, because if you're asking your 9-year-old to plan, organize, and execute a project totally independently, you might be asking for a skill their brain just isn't wired for yet. It's not that they won't get there, it just means they might need some sort of scaffolding or support or more time. And when we learn this, it's kind of freeing. I when I first learned the developmental stages, I was like, oh, it shifts our focus from why can't they do this yet to how can I support them at that stage, at the stage that they're in right now. Okay, so now we've set realistic expectations based on brain development. Let's talk about setting up our kids for success. And this is where we work on the foundations. I'm talking about the key areas that can actually either set the focus free or completely derail it. And I talk about all of the foundations quite often here on the podcast. We think about the big three: diet, sleep, and movement. Okay. Those are absolutely essentials. Removing those inflammatory foods, making sure they get consistent, restorative sleep in a cool, dark room with no screens at least 1 hour before bed. I know that's sometimes hard. Getting daily movement, not just PE class, but sometimes, something they enjoy that gets their body moving and their brain oxygenated. Jumping on a trampoline is a really good one for that. But here's the part that often gets missed: stress. Sometimes the stress is coming from the outside. So we've got like school and friendships, a certain teacher, or just the overwhelm of daily life. When kids are constantly in fight or flight mode, it's almost impossible for them to focus. We can't even focus in that way. And that's why incorporating calming tools like meditation or breathing techniques or short mindfulness moments can be game changing. And I've done lots of podcast episodes on those, so definitely check them out. Now, these don't have to be long sessions, even 1 to 2 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of breathing or guided meditation can help calm their nervous system and make focus more possible. Then there's the stress happening inside their body, things like bacteria, mold, chemicals, or heavy metals. These increase oxidative stress, inflammation, breakdown of the cells inside our body. And this can keep their brain in overdrive. While we work to reduce that internal stress, it's also important to check for any current exposures that could be fueling the fire. Now, some areas to consider, and don't get overwhelmed by all of this, but think about home mold testing. If there's any suspicion of mold, has your home been checked? The EPA website, check for environmental toxins in your local area. Water testing, test your home's water supply to ensure it's clean. Allergy testing. Are there hidden allergies that can keep inflammation high? And then, we've got these functional lab testing, things like heavy metals, gut-brain connection, zinc and copper ratio. I've talked a lot about functional lab testing on the podcast as well. I know it might sound a lot, but please remember, and I will say this over and over again, Rome was not built in a day. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. Pick one area to focus on. Literally. Take small steps, build from there. Even little changes can have a big ripple effect over time. And once we've tackled these foundations, diet, sleep, movement, stress reduction, we've essentially cleared the fog. Okay. We've allowed the brain to focus at the age appropriate level. But now we can move into building focus because we can actually build it. We can build that muscle in a way that actually sticks. And the good news is it doesn't have to be boring. Because I know our kiddos, they don't want to be bored. I can tell you that with my boys, that's for sure. I actually love using games, real life activities to build that focus. You can have games to build impulse control, freeze dance, Simon Says. Yes, you can totally join in as well. Working memory, okay? I went to the store and bought. Let's see who forgets the bananas first. That's a game that you can do to build that working memory. We've got games to build the attention muscle, things like spot the difference or mindful listening or timed coloring. And games to help planning. Have them help plan a meal or organize toys. Even a scavenger hunt can sneak in planning skills. Now, if you love my free focus game guide with the step-by-step instructions for each game that I've just talked about, plus ideas for different ages, I've put it together for you. You can grab it in the show notes. Just click the link. It's full of fun activities. You can start right away. No extra supplies needed. Okay, now the magic is with all of these games, you can sneak these into everyday life. 15 minutes of these activities a day can do more for focus than an hour of nagging. And I can tell you, I'm a reformed nagger. My husband might beg to differ. I still nag, but I'm sure we all do. Anyway, moving on, going on a tangent there. Look, while these activities help build skills over time, sometimes our kids need extra support to give them a boost, especially while you're building those foundations that we've talked about. That's where targeted supplements can come in. But remember, these are not magic pills. Two supplements that many parents find are helpful. The first one, Curcumin Mind. It supports healthy neurotransmitters and mood. And the second one is Optimal Focus. It supports dopamine and acetylcholine, helping with attention. I will drop links to those in the show notes, so be on the lookout for them. But as always, start low, go slow, always talk with your practitioner or doctor. Never start new supplements without that guidance. Ever wondered which supplements best support children with ADHD? It can be really overwhelming to look at all the options out there. The ADHD Thrive Institute has made it easy. No more guessing which supplements offer the best support for children with ADHD. No more hoping a supplement is high quality but not really knowing for sure. The ADHD Supplement Starter Bundle, created by a board-certified holistic health and nutrition practitioner and sold by the ADHD Thrive Institute, is perfect for children with ADHD. The ADHD Thrive Institute guarantees that all of their products are stored in a safe, temperature-controlled environment and are shipped directly from the manufacturer. If you're looking for supplements for your child with ADHD, look no further than the ADHD Thrive Institute's online store. Take a moment today to check out that ADHD Supplement Starter Bundle at adhdthriveinstitute.com/supplements. Again, that's adhdthriveinstitute.com/supplements. Now let's get back to today's episode. But I want to wrap this with something important because I know some of you are listening and feeling overwhelmed. Focus isn't built overnight. It's built in small moments. Moments that honestly might not feel big at the time. The day they remember their lunch without being reminded, that's progress. The day they finish homework with a little less drama than last week, that's a major win. You are doing the work and your child is making progress, even if it's slow. Look, if this episode gave you even one idea you want to try, please share it with another parent who needs a little encouragement. You never know, your share could be exactly what they need today. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Every time you share or you leave us a review, it helps another family find that hope and these practical tools. Thank you for being a part of the Soaring Child family. Listeners, thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Soaring Child podcast. I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at adhdthriveinstitute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.